What's up? This is Sean Heru Tassetti, also Sean J. Snapper. What I want to talk about today is the Egyptian creation stories with the gods and the goddesses. And the first two things I want to point out, first of all, in ancient Egypt, there was no such thing as gods and goddesses. The words was neter, which is NTR, but it was neter, which you can add the vowels and get the word nature. But anyway, that's basically what the gods and goddesses were, not superheroes running around with superpowers. but but yeah, they were anthropomorphic manifestations of divine principles of the universe. That's basically what they were. And also, I want to point out that the name for ancient Egypt has nothing to do with being called Egypt. That's more Greek in origin. The original name of Egypt was Kemet or Kemet, and some people say Tamiri. We debate back and forth with that, but yeah. Getting past all that, we're going to go straight to the story of creation. And this story of creation, there's a lot of Egyptian stories of creation, but I'm going to mostly point out the one from Heliopolis, which is spelled Heliopolis, which means the city of the sun. And as you know, the sun is very important in those times because it's basically the source of a lot of life. That's why it's so important. But anyway, and also I wanted to point out that from Heliopolis we get the Ennead, which is Ennead, which literally means the collection of nine things. It's about these nine deities, and once again, these gods, goddesses, but which are just basically neter, principles of divine universe. But I'm going to use the word gods and goddesses in this because most people are more familiar with it. First, I want to point out the very first god is Nu, which is Nu, also spelled Eun. Which is basically the primordial waters of the abyss. You could just say Nu is basically the abyss, the nothingness. And out of that nothingness comes Atum, Atum. Atum is the god of creation. It is supposed to be the first. It is a self-created god out of its own will, which is interesting. Side note, for anybody know anything about astrology, you would say the I will, or if you know about the fifth house, you would say that's the house of the sun or Leo, which is I will or willpower creation, which is interesting. But anyway, out of its own will, Atum created itself, which you can't really say it was male or female per se because it has the principles of male and female in it. And it used its female principle of itself to create children. So we're going to get into the children's name, but Atum basically is the first god or the god of creation, which is what he's supposed to symbolize, god of creation, also known as Ra as we get down throughout time. So you could say Ra, the sun, basically the power, the energy that came out of nothing is the sun. Gave birth to two children, and those two children name is Shu and Tefnut. Shu is a male, and it's basically the god of wind and air. And Tefnut, the sister slash wife, interesting, is the goddess of rain, mist, and moisture. So basically, we're talking about air and water to break it down and make it to simplify it. But basically, air and water. Which is why it's kind of divine when you think about it. It's science, And so Shu and Tefnut, they have children named Geb and Nut, which Geb is the earth and Nut is the sky goddess. And so, Nut and Geb are brothers and sisters slash husband and wife. Their father Shu, which remember being wind, air, had to separate the sky from the earth, or separate the sky goddess Nut from her brother slash husband Geb, which is the earth. So in other words, it's and she's depicted as being arched over earth. So, or her brother Geb. So basically, that's the sky that goes around the planet Earth. All right. After you get to the sky that goes around the planet Earth, they have children themselves. But we'll get into that another time. But from out of that emptiness, that darkness, came a lot of chaos. Because all of a sudden you got this creator God that comes and starts creating things, and it causes chaos in the universe. And so what happened is you needed to have balance, and from that balance you get Mayat, the goddess of balance, basically the balance of light and darkness is what she's supposed to represent. She is the laws and the principles of the universe that keeps the universe in balance, and that is Mayat. So that's basically that story, and I'm going to continue on with more stories involving this later on in the future. But that's just the beginning story there. So you can basically see the science behind that. You got the sun and the air and the water, and then you get the earth as a form in the sky god, the sky goddess. So you can see all that going in together. Now Atum, which is also known as Ra, began to weep tears of joy, and the tears that dropped on the earth is supposedly the creation of man. Those teardrops form man, which we can get into the science of that at a later time as well. But well, that pretty much is a good introduction as to that creation myth. I'm gonna get into a lot of the stories that go beyond that at another time. But you can see the science basically in that. You had nothingness, the sun comes, or Ra, the self-creating God, and it creates all these other things, the air and the water, and then the earth, and then the sky. That's basically the science of it. Neteru, used in the form of gods and goddesses, but like I said, it's nature, principles of nature, divine principles of nature. All right. See y'all next time. Be sure to check out some of my future videos. Peace.